Hi everyone, and welcome to Cloud Gaming Extreme. And we are pleased to announce our new show called Cloud 9. We take one topic each week. Can you see?
I've
Each
thrown you
week,
off already and I haven't even said anything.
yes, for each week, and we just go through it all and have a bit of a discussion on it. This week, we are going to be having a look at GeForce Now, and we're going to discuss each of the tiers and all that, because there was a lot of confusion about GFN and the tiers and which one suits what person and things like that. So here we go. We're going to have a bit of a yarn like about this. If you want to access this early, this gets pushed out every Monday, and if you're a member, and for everybody else, it goes out on the Friday. We appreciate everybody who watches it, so it's just like a wee perk for members. Just get it a bit out there, just to enjoy. So Barry, what about you?
Yes. I am doing good. I'm glad that we've managed to kickstart this into life, and it was something that we wanted to bring to the channel and get going. So I'm glad to be recording the first one, and yeah, we kind of felt that the GeForce Now tiers, because we've had quite a few questions or kind of misconceptions. We thought it would be a real good one just to kick off with.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of mi- miscommunications, and I can't even speak here during this. Again, this is going to be a bit more laid back, so there's going to be a lack of editing in this. It's just going to go once and done sort of thing. So just think of it like a normal sort of podcasty type thing. There's a lot of
Absolutely.
mis
I was just
there.
going to say before you moved on very quickly, it's almost going to be a raw format where it's whilst we're obviously doing it for you guys, we're doing it for the members, and then obviously everybody else that watches. This is almost kind of very typical to the types of conversations we have when we're off camera. So, and that's what we would really want to try and capture with this as well.
Yeah, that is exactly it. It's just going to be what you see is what you get with us, and this is what we're trying to do with this as well. So there will be lots of uh, not clever editing. It's just going to be a nice free flow. So the reason why we chose this, as Barry said a bit there, is there's a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions about GeForce Now and their tiers and who they're aimed at and why are there limits and things like that. So we're just going to go through this all and go through each of the four tiers. Or is it four tiers or is it three tiers?
I kind of feel like we have to class it as three, really, don't we? But I mean, technically, we can cover that off as a technicality. Thus, four.
Yes. The reason for the technicality is we'll come to that when we come to the priority tier. So three tiers are, just have to get the right terminology here, is the free tier, the priority tier, and the RTX 3080 tier. Each of them are aimed at different sort of people. So we're going to kick it off nice and gently with the free tier, which is probably the most controversial one.
I would say so.
To start off with. So for people who don't know, the free tier gets you a basic rig. You get access to all the games, like the how many over 100 free to play
Just over
games.
100 now, yeah.
Yeah, 1,400 games are available in GFM, and you're only got 1 hour session length. So Barry, what do you think about this tier?
It's a bit. I feel like the free tier's almost a double-edged sword because I think um, it's good that there's the free option there to give people the option to try it, because obviously we talk all the time about lowering the barrier and the cost of entry and all that sort of stuff. So from that perspective, it works really well because people have got the ability to see how does cloud gaming technology work, how does it perform, so utilizing your existing library from Epic, Steam, obviously GOG, Ubisoft, the variety, and then obviously a few of the kind of standalone launchers as well. But I think for me that's where the benefit ends, but I don't think it gives a true representation of the service itself. It gives you a window into it, but I think personally, having now experienced the priority and the 3080 tier, I do kind of think that maybe it does them an element of a disservice because the perception, the first thing are hit with is queues. Then the second thing they're hit with is they can only play for an hour and then they're kicked off and then they've got to rejoin the queue, and stuff like that. So whilst there's elements of positive to it, I think there's elements that Connor does in general do GeForce Now as a gaming service a disservice because it actually doesn't showcase the proper capabilities of what's there and what can be done.
Yeah, that's where I am basically as well. It's absolutely brilliant that GFN have decided to go for a free tier. Unlike the other cloud providers out there, they do not make money if you buy anything on the platform. And this is one of the reasons why there's an hour limit, in my opinion, is you go and play that, you're actually just using GFN's resources for nothing. NVIDIA's resources, you're getting to play that for absolutely nothing. If you play on Stadia, if you play on Xbox, you're giving them money to play on there. With Stadia, even the free to play games, if you go buy a skin in Destiny 2, Stadia is getting a cut of that money, which goes to pay for the service. While on GFN, if you go and buy something in game on the free tier, they get nothing because it goes straight to whatever provider is there, like Steam or Epic. So it is a double edged sword. Uh, but for me, I have said this and I will continue to say this. I think the free tier needs to be looked at, if not discontinued, because it is doing a disservice to the GFN. Just for them reasons, the queues we've seen sometimes, if they're the queues are in thousands at times. Can you remember when Cyberpunk launched on GFN and it crippled the whole service nearly because there was just so many people looking to play it because that was one of the best places to play it. This the free service is class because it gets people to actually try it, but it just doesn't do it justice. Yes, I'm repeating myself.
No, it doesn't. And I think I think with all these things, sometimes it's very easy to come up with a problem and maybe not as easy to come up with a solution. But in my mind, I think what they'd be worthwhile doing, I bet if they did some kind of cost analysis for people that do, let's say, the free tier and how much they utilize it, I'd like to see them do, and I know at occasions you do see, rewards where you can claim this, but I'd actually like to see them tweak it and give 3 days free to the priority tier so that you've got a limited time where you've got access to the priority tier where you kind of get access to a little bit more of the service stretching its legs and how it can actually deliver, which I think actually would result in a better experience, one for the users. And I think maybe potentially the uptake could be better because then you could start to monitor the conversion rate from those that are free. Obviously, they can they can measure the conversion rate as it is from free to priority, but you have to ask yourself how many people are actually converting from free to priority or even 3080, depending on the type of gamer. But if you give them 3 days access, which is not limited to, a 1 hour session, but then 3 days, they've got that window. That's a long weekend, basically, isn't it? Or if you've got a couple of days off work, hammer it as much as you like so you can really put it through its paces, see how well it performs, and then kind of move on.
Yeah, like sign up with your credit card details and you get your 3 day trial and away you go, like you get with other sort of places, or like the Xbox Game Pass one, pay £1 and get access for the month or something like that. Just get people's hooks in and for them to try it, because the free tier is okay. It's You're getting it for nothing. You're getting games for nothing if you're claiming your Epic games each week. So there is lots of there is positives, but overall, I think it's nearly a neck. It's either neutral for them or I think slightly bad for them. It's just it just doesn't give the real proper impression of GeForce Now, and it, and it's disappointing. You hear everybody complaining about the queues and things like that because they're using the free tier. All I can say is sign up for 1 month of the proper, and I think you'll be converted.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. I mean, I find it difficult to understand the logic in complaining about something that's, if you're playing a free game on a free service and they stick you into a queue and it's maybe not the best experience, then you kind of look at it and go, well, do you know what? I'm getting it for free, so fair enough. I'm not really going to have a whinge about it. Um, you know, but yeah, I think you're spot on there.
Yeah,
Take a month and go for it.
yeah, I think that the biggest thing is it's because they're competing with like Stadia on the free tier, but I think that most people don't realize that Stadia are still making money off you if you buy anything at all on Stadia. They are getting some money. While GFN, if you buy a game to play on GFN, they're not getting anything, and that is the reason for the queues and the 1 hours and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Again, it's such a it is a double-edged sword, if as you've said, and I wish there was some way to actually resolve that. Maybe GFM will put a store in, and then things could change.
Possibly a revenue cut.
Exactly, that's what it all comes down to. So, shall we move on to the next type of account? Technically, there's two, and
Yes.
It it is the priority tier stroke founders. So it's technically 4 tiers, but really just 3. The priority tier is £9 a month, and I think it's 9 or $10 a month. And with that, you get a premium rig with RTX on, priority access to the premium service, 6 hour session length, and 1080 up to 60 FPS. And if you want to pay that over 6 months where you actually save a bit of money. It's £45. I think it's $50 or something
Yeah, it'll
along
be
there.
there or
Sorry,
thereabouts. Yeah.
and this is a good sort of standing. Uh, I, for me, that is where most people will end up on GeForce Now. But I'll let you kick this off.
Yeah, and well, I think what I'll kick off with is clarifying when we said there's technically two tiers here. So if you were originally subscribed to the service at an earlier point in time before they made those tier changes in 2021, what was the priority tier used to be the founders tier, and they gave everybody who was connected to that, provided your subscription was active and remained active, they gave you a founders for life benefit, which meant that your price was locked in. But obviously, if you cancelled and then came back, you'd come back as a priority, not as a not as a founder. So and that used to be at the reduced price of £5.99. So that's where the slight difference is. It was a monthly rate, and that's, but you used to get all of the same benefits basically. Obviously, priority tier, I think, I've used the priority tier. It was primarily up until late 2021. It was the tier that I was using regularly, because it was the main one at that point. And in terms of performance, I think that is when you see the service start to, I don't want to say stretch its legs, but it starts to show off some of its capabilities when it starts to add in the ray tracing technology. You've got proper longer gaming sessions where you don't have to worry about 60 minutes. You can spend, that little bit of extra time. And in terms of pricing, for the what you get in return for that level and that spec of rig that they give you, cost wise, I'm absolutely fine with it. I mean, you're looking at less than £100 a year if you do it in 6 month chunks, and even if you do it in 12 month chunks, you're a fraction over that, that £100 mark. But if you look at what's actually contained within there and what it outputs, if you were to try and build, a rig, it would cost you a hell of a lot more. than kind of that £100-ish a year that you could be spending.
Yeah, priority tier for me is real good value for money when you compare it to the other services out there. The 1080 60 stream, which you can get on there, is I'll say it, and we'll see what the comments say after when I say this. It is arguably still out in front. This is even before we go into the 3080. A number of the games I play on the priority tier 1080 60 look as good, if not better, than the xCloud and Stadia, and I'm including Stadia's 4K in that. It just looks much better and clearer, and I would prefer to play on GFN with that. Uh, where am I going now? I do not know. Uh, the good thing is you do get the RTX as well on the priority tier. For that's ray tracing. Cyberpunk runs well on it. I'm trying to think of other games which have got the RTX on.
Troll.
Control, yeah. You can see that, and that's only the baby steps in the RTX. We'll be talking about the full ones shortly. We're going to go for a slight tangent here. A lot of people's concerns is with the priority tier and the RTX 3080 tier is you pay that amount of money each month and you don't get any games. You don't get any games like you get with Game Pass. You don't get any games like you do with Stadia and the other platforms and Luna as well. But PC gaming is completely and utterly different to the console sort of experiences you get there. Basically, every single week you get games off the Epic Games Store, and the chances are they're more likely than not end up on the GeForce Now. So you get maybe a game a week through the Epic Games Store. Then, as we're recording this, the Steam Summer Sale is going on, and you can pick some absolute bargains up there for next to nothing. And then you've got like humble bundles where you can get big games for cheap as well. For the same, for that sort of price, it gets you into the PC market, and I think you don't realize how much the cheaper games are on PC compared to the other places you can get it.
There's a considerable difference, in that space. I know, I mean, we know that regularly anyway, but that was kind of reinforced to me recently because I was looking at purchasing an up and coming game, and I was trying to decide where I'm going to purchase it, and it was nearly double the cost on consoles in comparison to what it is in PC. So there is a vast difference in that sense. From that, and I think I know we touched on it in the free tier, but you've also got access to those 1,300, nearly four, not 1,300, over 100 free to play titles. I nearly gave it a lot more free to play titles than there were then. Um, you've still got access to over 100 games that you can play. Straight off the bat before you do, that's before you do then add in the Epic games that you can then pick up. So I think that you can't underestimate the power that kind of has, really, because if you there's some of the games in there, like a lot, some of the popular ones that people are playing in the sense of Fortnite or Rocket League, we know that they're consistent because they've got seasons, and they're kind of, people dive into them. They're there to be enjoyed. You can pick up straight from there.
Yeah, what's really good about some of all these games as well, if you're playing in other places, a lot of these games now have crossplay, or not crossplay and cross progression. It was cross progression that was actually going in to more. So if you play Fortnite one place and you come to play on GFN, it all syncs up if you put in the right account details and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, the priority tier is where I see most people playing. And I would recommend everybody to try GFN at this priority sort of tier, even just for 1 month, just to compare to what's out there. Because it's, for me, even you don't get 4K in priority, for me, it still just runs so well and just looks so good at that sort of level.
It does. The actual bit rate that they, that you can obviously run for that 1080 stream is what adds to making it so good. And I think that's when you start to compare with other cloud services, the bit rate that GFN have when they're pushing their streams is higher, which is then obviously in turn is delivering you a more consistent but much more detailed 1080 60 game stream.
Yep. Some of the things I don't like about the priority tier is you don't have the option for 4K. Because some of them older games you would be able to run at the level they've got there at the 4K sort of level. We're talking older games. I'm not talking about like Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that, running that in 4K on that model, but I'm talking like the Assassin's Creeds and stuff like that, like from 10, 15 years ago. But overall, I think the overall package at the priority is absolutely dead on.
Yeah, I think it is. I think value wise it's good, and I think it strikes the kind of that middle of the road, almost the core, possibly the core demographic in terms of will fall into that. And I have a view on each of the tiers and kind of buying decisions, and we'll maybe come to that towards the end once we've kind of covered the founders. But I think it is definitely, for most people, it sits in that happy place where they can be comfortable with the price, comfortable with the performance, and comfortable with the library that they've got.
Yeah, we'll move on to the last tier, which is, I just want to say it completely right, the RTX 3080, because sometimes I say the 3080 RTX, I don't get shouted at. So it's a, so we've got that. What this is, we're it is a significant increase compared to the priority. You're basically doubling the price here. So it's £18 a month. So I think it's $20 a month. But with that, you get the GeForce RTX 3080 rig with RTX on, exclusive access to the RTX 3080 servers, 8-hour session length, up to 4K resolution, and up to 120 FPS. So Barry, kick us off.
This is I think as a tier, as far as this goes, it's pretty much the creme de la creme of in terms of performance. So it sits right at the top of the threshold that if you want to push everything that you are playing to the absolute max, then this is the tier for you. If you want the best that you can possibly extract, from a game streaming service, then this is it. This is where you're gonna, to be able to pull in, either 1440 at 120 frames per second or 4K 60. You've got the option, which, and a lot of people across the PC landscape, 1440, it tends to be kind of where they sit. And you can game at 1440, 120 frames per second, and it is pretty much flawless. It does deliver, a really good standard, of performance, and with a lot of the technological improvements that they then brought alongside of that, they've then pushed that kind of reduction in latency, and it has a much more kind of localized feeling to when you're playing. When you're on the 3080 tier, you almost forget that you are gaming in the cloud. It's that good.
Uh, at this moment in time, GeForce Now's 3080 tier is the gold standard in cloud gaming. If you want the very best, this is where you go. For me, I'll say this and I'll say it again. If I want to play a game if a game comes, I want to play it on the RTX 3080. That is it. It is such a game changer. Once once you've experienced it, you want to play all your games there. And as we know with GFN doesn't get every single game. They want to get every single game, but they don't get every single game. And with that, this is the frustration for me because I want every single game on here because I just want to play it with GFN, and it is that good. For me, the pricing of this is absolutely spot on. I think they could have went cheaper. I've said that before, and I will say it again.
They could have went cheaper
Well, no,
or
no,
more
no. It went
expensive.
more expensive, more expensive. They could have went. They could have went more expensive, and they went a lot cheaper than I thought they could. I know that seems a bit mad, but for what you're actually getting in this, if you priced up a similar spec PC, you would be God knows how much you would be at. It's absolutely ridiculous, and they've got it all nicely tuned, and everything's there and ready for you to just jump in and game. It is absolutely brilliant, and I know the price puts a lot of people off. For me, the price is absolutely fair, and I don't think you can really argue if you price up what you're getting compared to what you get in the outside sort of world in non cloud gaming. And when you compare it to the competition, it's nobody comes close to it. It is not far out in front. Again, there is limits on the session length, which are 8 hours, and obviously you want that higher. But for me,
What happens when you hit that 8 hour session, Duncan?
I've hit it a couple of times, yes, but it's very rare that I actually do hit the session because I jump in. I'm a bit like I jump between a load of different games. But when you get into that, you get a warning to say your session is about to expire, log off. But a lot of people don't realize is that 8 hour session length and the 6 hour session length on priority, that isn't per day, that's just per session. So as soon as you log off and log back in again, your 6 hours kicks on again. So you don't have to worry about that. So if you're playing a game, it's just save, log off quickly, and log back on again. I know it's still a bit of a pain, but it's one of them things. It's I think it's overblown, that sort of issue.
It's kind of like it's a drinks and food break, isn't it? I've hit eight
Yep,
hours. Okay, let me go and refill my drink. Let me get some more snacks. I'll be back in a minute to follow you back up. It's that's how I see it.
yep, that's exactly it. Uh, what can I say bad about this? Because I am trying to think here. The pricing. We'll go back to the pricing. I I know it seems a hell of a lot of money with for that, and I can see why that puts off people. But it is worth it if you're an enthusiast, and that's where I would say if you want the best, you're going to have to pay for the best, and that is what we've got here. Again, most people will probably be on the priority tier, and for this 3080, what you do need to have like a 4K screen or the 1440p screen. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think it's worth it for the mobile phone for 120 FPS? Or would you recommend just the priority for that? Because we did have a question on Twitter about that.
Yeah, we did. I mean, I think if you were mobile only, if you weren't playing on a PC monitor, or a Mac for for argument's sake, you were literally only playing on on a mobile device, then I would say the priority is a happy place. It does exactly what you need. I don't think you would necessarily specifically go, do you know what? I only game on mobile. I'm going to push to 120. Do you know what? At the end, it's your wallet or purse. So if you decided that you wanted to do it because your phone's capable of it and that's what you want, you'll get a good experience. But once you see 120, you'll want 120 all the time.
Yeah. Uh, if people are really into cloud and most of their games are on GFN that they want to play, go for it. It is, you won't regret it, and you'll when you go back and play the other platforms, and I'm talking about all the platforms, it is really hard to sit there and look at that compared to the 3080. You just get used to it, and it's it's one of them things. It's just absolutely class, and at this moment, it is it is where you want to play. If you've experienced it, that is all you want. But it won't be for everybody because of the cost and the technical sort of things. If you don't have a 4K screen or a 1440 screen, even that's even taking out the 120 FPS. I don't think you should really be going for it if you want the very best and you've got the 4K stuff. Go for it.
Yeah, and I think that that's fair to say. And the one thing I did want to touch on, because you were talking about the price as a concern, I think if you take the price, maybe if the price is a concern for some people, I think where it does possibly become slightly problematic for some users is if you couple the price with, whilst the library is very good, there probably are some key partnerships with publishers that are missing that may be in some people's libraries or their game franchises that they like to play. That's another thing to factor in there. So, for argument's sake, if you like games from kind of 2K, that sort of thing, they're not available on the service. We hope they hurry up and and get there. But there are certain things there that some people do look at it and say, well, actually, for the price, I've got developers or publishers missing. That means I still have to play somewhere else, which it's not always a bad thing to have options to play somewhere else, but that is certainly something worth considering. If you want to make it your sole, if you were looking at it saying, well, actually, do you know what? The RTX 3080 tier is going to replace everything. I'm not going to have anything else. That's all I'm going to have. Then obviously just carefully look at the publishers that are on the service, the games that are in the library, to understand, am I going to have any gaps where I'm like, I really like that franchise, I want to play it, I'm not going to be able to. So that's just a worthwhile heads up there.
Yeah. I'll think this is a good place to maybe wrap up now. For me, I think if you're interested in cloud at all, try the priority tier. Sign up for a month, have a look through the 100 games like Genshin Impact runs really, really well, which is the big one, free to play game this week. Go claim a couple of games off Epic during that month and give them a word. And I think you'll come away pretty impressed of where they actually are. So, and if you really like what you're seeing there and you've got the equipment, maybe spoil yourself and get a month off the 3080 just to show what it's like. For the free tier, I wish they did a proper trial like you were suggesting, like a 3 or 4 days or even a month for for half the price or something along them lines to tease people into it. If you want, try the free tier, but that's not a real reflection on the platform and service. And I'm just going to say this because I just want to get my wee thing in here. It is a platform we've seen stuff. There's SDKs and stuff out there. It's a platform now, and there's more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's yeah, that is well worth kind of dropping that in there. And I think that the way I can kind of loop back to what I was alluding to earlier. The way that I very much sort of see it is I kind of see those three tiers almost as something that's good, something that's better, and something that's absolutely the best. So you then make your decision as to where you're comfortable, kind of sitting in that, in that scale of those three categories. And then obviously you might have some niggles with good, obviously, as we highlighted earlier, but that's how I see it: good, better, and best. And you then decide what type of experience you want.
Yeah. Again, thanks for watching. I didn't want to go down another rabbit hole there. So thank you all for watching. If you like this, give us a like and subscribe and all that jazz. If Thank you members for your saying this already. So if you want to see these shows already, if you become a member, we've got tiers right across the whole spectrum. And if you want to take part and have a discussion, check us out on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. UK, which is 3 p.m. Eastern, and you set the questions and we go and try and answer them as best as we can.
Yep, we do indeed. We'll hopefully see you all there.
We will see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.